I'm Bob, also known as the Speed Trap Hunter. I'm fortunate enough to be out in Cincinnati today at Escort, the manufacturers of the Escort Passport 9500 CI, which is a detector that I'm fortunate to have installed in my personal vehicle. And you guys were very kind enough to allow your engineers to come out and give it a look over, your installation professionals, and see if this thing checked out okay, and thank you for that. And
well, Bob, first of all, thanks very much for coming all the way to Westchester, very close to Cincinnati, paying a visit to us. And your car, this is just an awesome piece of work. We got a lot of car aficionados here at Escort. This car is pretty hot. Now, as you said, you have in this car a custom installed Passport 9500 CI radar laser detector?
Yes, and shifter.
All right. We can take a look at that. We'll go over that. And maybe in a bit, I'll also call one of the engineering techs, have them come out and also go through it with us if you don't mind. I mean, those guys are truly the experts. I just know about it, but they do the actual install.
Excellent. Okay, we're in the front of the car. Ron, you can see what we've done here. As you know, there are a couple components to your 9500 CI, Passport 9500 CI. We're going to talk first about our laser shifter heads here. These serve the purpose of detecting, obviously, and shifting the laser. Before a shifter can work, obviously it has to detect the laser. So the placement is very critical, and we've opted here to split the vehicle essentially in half. And look at this half of the car, split the distance between our headlight area or fog light area, and if we had a license plate area, which in Pennsylvania obviously we don't, but most states do, that would be where the plate is. You want to split that area so you get good coverage, not only from the the primary targeting points of the plate and or the headlights for the detection of it, but also for the shifting function as well. So you want to be able to cloak that side of the car.
Yeah, you mentioned the shifting function. That's also why we don't want to be down low to the ground. We want to be up so that we get some elevation, and trigonometry will work so that we get the shifting back to the source. And that way we confuse the gun and you're not going to be targeted and successfully ticketed. But yeah, splitting this to cover the license tag, the headlamp area, 2 prime targets, that's a perfect location.
Good, good. And we were talking about this earlier, how critically important it is to maximize the performance, not only the detection, but the shifting function of these units, to have them absolutely level horizontally, or I should say, I guess vertically, and perpendicular to the road. So, oftentimes when you first mount these into the bumper, you may want to make this jammer head here flush with the bumper, and that would be a mistake, because in this case, most cars, they tend to curve, and if you lined it up and made it flush, you'd be facing out, which would be undermining your performance. So to maximize performance, and we were pleased to see that Doug was able to confirm that we had this thing not only leveled this way vertically, but also horizontally. We have it nice and perpendicular. So
yeah, if you think of this, the performance of this piece, if you could imagine an infinite laser beam being shot out of here, if you angle this and curve with your bumper, that beam is not going to aim down the road at the gun. That beam is going to move off and go straight out here. So trigonometry would just suggest a little bit of error here is going to be a lot of error down the road. So where you've got this, it's going to aim up the road at the gun. And the same thing for the horizontal elevation. You need to be parallel with the surface of the road, the surface that you're driving. And for the same reason, so that you don't go up over the gun or below the gun. But that looks really good.
Good, and we looked at this too when we first did this install. You can make it more stealth, potentially, so you don't necessarily see it. Where we're not going to cut into the grill work here for placing these heads, and we didn't want to also choose to put these heads up here behind here, because these things would be acting like a Venetian blind, and it could potentially be impacting the detection function and or the shifting function of these transponders. So we opted to go for a clear line of sight. Again, a nice bisection of the horizontal this way and vertical, and we found this was the appropriate mounting place. So.
Yeah, you don't want to put your shifters behind any type of grill work. It's got to have a very plain line of sight view of the road.
Right. So that takes care of the shifter heads. We opted here, Ron, to go and put the radar receiver low and behind this lower bumper area. And we did that for a couple of reasons. Again, there's probably going to be an ongoing debate for years as to whether we should be mounting high and low. And I would argue that a high or low position with these types of heads, it may be a little bit of a different argument than having it in the windshield. By going low, my theory is that we maximize the ability of this detector, this very sensitive antenna, to see radar up ahead, and if you're behind any vehicles, if we were up higher, the possibility of that vehicle blocking the source. You just see a little bit, you know. And this way we're going low.
Yeah, your key factor with your receiver is very simply this. What you don't want to do is mount it behind metal, because metal will act as a shield and block those it's microwaves, RF energy. But down here, up here, this unit's going to pick that up because it's just like the energy that's blowing right through our heads right now. That energy it's a radio frequency wave, somewhat directional, but in general, high, low, that's not the issue. Just make sure that you're not shielded by metal. You've got it here behind this plastic, right. You're fine. That's going to be okay.
Good. Okay.
How does your display look?
Oh, it's awesome.
Okay, I see two things right off the bat. You know, it's really nice about the 9500 Ci. We've got this split display head. So the display is one feature, and then the control piece. And it looks like you've got these, you know, great line of sight for the display, and now you've got the control head where you can reach that. Can you tell us a little bit about your decision and the result and how you like it?
Yeah, one of the great things about the 9500 Ci that I find very good is the ability to really custom tailor the location of where you want your display and control modules. And in my particular case, I opted to put it in a line of view that when I'm looking ahead of the road, I don't really have to take my eyes off the road, if at all. And also with the speed sensitivity function of the 9500 Ci, I use this as a real-time accurate speedometer, so I can get a real-time continuous update of my speed and without having to take my eyes off the road or even look down at my gauges. So that's what I like the position of this. I keep it behind my registration sticker, so the sunlight, you know, during the high points of the day when the sun is beating down, I still can see this very easily. So this gives me a great latitude of visibility in all different types of lighting conditions right here. And again, it's in my line of sight. That's the important thing.
What'd you do with your control head?
Yeah, the control head, I opted again to put it in a way that would require the least amount of intrusion to my driving, so I can reach with my hand and touch the major controls of this unit without, again, taking my eyes off the road. It's within my line of reach. I can mute the detector. I can turn off the shifting function by double tapping the mute button, and it's all right here in my reach. And so this is where we opted to put this unit. It's discreet, it's out of the way, and yet it's very accessible.
Bob, that's pretty awesome. I like the installation. You like driving with it?
It's a fabulous detector. You know, the first day we got this installed, I had to go out and test drive this sucker. And I actually did a couple 100-mile loop that one evening, and we had a situation where I came up in New Jersey with a radar detection. And, you know, sometimes I drive with other detectors to get a relative comparative how they do. And I could already see within the first couple of encounters the level of performance of the 9500 Ci is truly in a class of its own. You know, it's not uncommon that I'm getting 15 or 20 seconds of additional warning time with this unit over even the best windshield mount detectors. And that's saying something, because I've been driving with detectors, Ron, as you know, since the early 80s, since the early Escort.
Since before they invented cars. Hey, you know, close. Bob, it's great to see when people are as pleased and satisfied with one of our products as you are. Thank you so much for coming in today. It was great.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.